Okay, so now we're going to discuss project 3, which for us is going to be the design of vinyl record album cover and label, right? So that's going to be the front cover, the back cover, the spine, and the label for the disc, right? And I want you to go and find an artist, a musician, or a group, you know, and I want you to focus on songs that have lyrics, because that's part of this project is getting words and images to work together. And so, like, you'll have the title of the album and the artist's name, like, so you can play around with the text in Photoshop. Um, and on the back cover, have the lyrics to a song, and maybe some liner notes, like some credits, that sort of thing. So we're trying to not only make something visually interesting with images, creating a little bit of space, a little room for text, and considering both of them simultaneously. So again, getting words and images to play nice together, not the easiest thing in the world to do. Now, I realize this class isn't really focused on typography. We're more concerned with digital imaging and photographic elements and artistic elements, but we still need to take a look at Photoshop and what it can do with text. To be honest with you, Adobe Illustrator and Adobe InDesign are better at managing text of this nature, but Photoshop is actually improved over the years, and it's now a viable option for images that do incorporate text. So let's take a look at this. Let me share my screen with you. Any minute now. Here we go. Okay, so if you go to eCampus and find the Week 9 folder, inside you're going to find the Project 3 instructions and resources folder, right? And so inside there, we've got all the instructions for the project. There's examples of album cover art and a layout here. I do want to point out to you guys that I've actually provided you with a template file. More about that in a minute, but you'll be able to download that PSD file, open it in Adobe Photoshop, and place your artwork within that structure. And that's meant to save a little bit of time, but also to give you some practice using clipping masks. The file that I'm providing you is organized in folders, and within each one of those folders is a shape that you can use. Like the front cover has a square shape, the back cover, the label, and you can use clipping masks to clip your artwork into those shapes, right? More about that in a minute. So, and it's already got a set resolution, standard sizes, okay? So if you take a look, I want you to research and brainstorm like we always do. I'm going to actually provide you with a template for your sketches. I'll show you that as well in just a minute. There's some links to sites that might inspire you. Of course, there's music all over the internet and art associated with that music. So start doing your research now. I want you to not only look at the images on these designs, but how are these designers using text as well, right? Really pay attention to words and the images and how they relate to one another. Okay, so And of course, you'll turn in those preliminary sketches. There'll be a brainstorming sheet, like there always is, thumbnail sketches, a rough sketch, um, examples that you found of other album cover art. You'll create a contact sheet in Photoshop to show me what you're looking at. And I also, when you turn in that folder, I want you to have a hyperlink so that I can go and listen to at least a snippet of your song, right? A lot of you may use YouTube, others of you, like wherever you can find the song, um, you copy that URL address, and when you turn in your sketches, um, paste that URL for me in the comments when you're turning in your research folder, so I can click on that and find your song and hear what it is that you're designing for. It's kind of important. And when you go to critique it, I want you to paste up that link as well so that your classmates can hear the song. I think it's really important that you design to the song and its lyrics and its mood, etc. Okay. All right. And let me see here. We're turning our focus and attention to vectors and the vector tools in Photoshop, like the pen tool, the shape tools. So we can incorporate some of that into this project, as well as the type tool. So that should be addressed in the project in some way, shape, or form. You should try to use those tools. And at the bottom of the instruction sheet, there's a list of functions and tools to be familiar with. I'm not saying that you have to use all of these things. But, you should know what a clipping mask is. Look at that list of tools and be familiar with them at least, okay? We're actually designing this on a layout that's much smaller than an actual vinyl record, right? Vinyl records are 12 inches square, pretty much, a little more than that actually. And so, if we were to design it that size, some of you will have computers that won't be able to process such a large file. And certainly when we go to upload something like that to the internet, those are gargantuan file sizes. So I've actually created a template. It's a little lower resolution, a little smaller. So instead of 12 inches, we're designing about 4 3/4 inches for each one of those squares, which means some of your font sizes may be a little smaller than normal, but that'll be okay. We'll do the best that we can. Just to save a little bit of file size so we can work online more efficiently. Okay. All right, so let's take a look here. Well, that's more of the same. Here, like the project through resource files, that's what I want to show you. So here are the two PSD files that you should download when this becomes available to you. One is the starting file. It's a PSD. You'll download it, open it in Photoshop, and it's got the file structure for you with those shapes. So you don't have to worry so much about getting the math right and laying it out yourself. It's a template. And so you're going to be focused more on the creative side of things, the artwork, the use of text, and some of those technical functions like clipping masks that'll help you organize this whole thing. Again, I'll show you an example in a minute. In fact, that example that I'm going to show you is here that you can download as well. If you download that file, it's rather large, it's about a 20 megabyte file, but you can open that up in Photoshop and see an example of how some artwork is placed in, and clipped into those shapes, okay? And just how it's organized. Now, there are links here as well to websites that have some classic and not so classic album cover art that might get you started. But again, that's a very small fraction of what's out there. So use your knowledge of the music that you like, you'll find the artwork associated with it. Uh, don't limit yourself to just what you like. You might like a certain genre of music that doesn't have great designers, great visual designers working for it at the moment, right? So, spread things out and look in lots of different places. And it doesn't have to just be album cover art that you're looking at. You can find inspiration anywhere. Okay, so yeah, good design is good design. And then down here at the bottom, I've got a couple of links here. One is for a template for a rough sketch, and another for thumbnails. And basically, they look like this. It clearly shows you this is the back of the cover, this is the front of the cover, and here's the label that you're going to design and clip it into that circular label for the record. Make sense? So these two files here, you can download them. If you have the ability to print them, you can literally draw your sketches on that printed document. Or if you don't have the ability to print right now, just use that as a guide. You know, a square for the back, square for the front, and a circle for the label. Make sense? Okay. But you can literally download those files and print them and use them for your sketches, then take a photograph and upload them for your preliminary sketch folder. Okay, so those websites that have album cover art, this one, like some of these are a little more contemporary, some of them are old school. A lot of them have more graphic look, others are more photographic. You get to choose what it is that you want to use Photoshop to create. So if you wanted to really focus on vectors and create vector shape layers and do something more graphic, you certainly can. If you wanted to do something more photographic and kind of continue looking at montage type images that Photoshop does so well, you can do that also, or some combination of the two. All right, so quite a few examples here that might get your creative juices flowing. Right. Here's another one. These are album cover designers, right? Like Hypnosis, Roger Dean, Vaughn Oliver, Peter Seville. Take a look at these different kind of iconic designers of album cover art. And there's H.R. Giger. Maybe that's a way to approach it. Look at the designer that you really like and look at their work and see if that doesn't inspire you. All right, so once you've got your song picked out and you found the lyrics, by the way, go find the lyrics online, right? Here's the song that its title and its lyrics and the credits for the musicians and the copyright information, the publishing information. Gather all of that. Don't just get, the song, but get the information for the song, because you're going to incorporate that text into the design. Make sense? Okay. So once you got the song, the lyrics, the information about it, you maybe looked at examples, you've made some sketches. And here's, the thumbnail layout. Like if you print that out, you can literally draw on that. But when you go to get your images, like I want to encourage you to take your own photographs. I think it's very important that you really keep your hand in photography for this, even if it's just taking photographic references that you're going to then turn into vectors. Take, I would say like at least half of the images that you use, like try to create them yourself. Now, I recently needed a photo, like an underwater photo. I don't have the equipment to do that. So I went and looked at a website that I knew was going to be royalty free and wouldn't have strings attached. That being said, I'm still going to get the information for the photographer and copy the URL address so I can get back to it and always credit that photographer or artist whenever possible. So if you can't get the image yourself, then you might consider websites that do have like royalty-free images that don't have to be cited, right? Now there are websites that where you are supposed to attribute, um, you know, the information for the artist, but there are some that don't require that. Unsplash is one, unsplash.com. There's Pixabay is another one. Pexels, Pexels. So look for those sites that are truly royalty free, okay, that don't require you to cite your sources. But even so, I want you to gather that information. Okay, so here's an image that I downloaded recently for, the example for this project. When you go to download it, and this is Unsplash, by the way, most of these sites that are royalty free will do something like this. You click to download the file and up pops the information about it. This is really convenient. I can now copy the information for this artist, right? And the site where it came from, I can copy that. And so when I go to look at this, I'm going to look at it in the Finder. Of course, it opens up on the wrong screen. Here we go. All right, check this out. One way to very quickly make sure that the information stays with this file, I'm going to right-click the file and choose Get Info. Now, this is on a Mac. PC should have something very similar. And so in comments here, I'm just going to hit Command-V to paste that link back to the website where it came from, okay? And that way I can attribute the information about the photographer, about the site, right there. So that'll be saved with the file, okay? Makes sense? Always keep track of where things come from. If you're going to use somebody else's work for this project, I want you to document where those things came from, put it in, like save the information with the file, and then create a text file or a Word doc that lists those things that you used in this project to show me that you're actually thinking in an ethical way about using other people's work and not just taking credit for it yourself. Make sense? Okay. So now in Photoshop here, like here's an example layout, right? And it starts with the back cover on the left, the front cover is in the middle, and then the disc label is on the right. Let me show you, I can find it here. All right, this is the file that you will download to start with, okay? And here, let me get rid of that. I'll increase the size of thumbnails a bit here. Okay, so you can see that there's a layer structure that uses folders, right? So at the very top, this is actually a set of guides. Let me show you. Oh, you can't see them. Let me do this. All right. This is just, some lines that'll help you in case you don't use the folders and the shapes to organize things. This basically will give you the structure of the front and the back and the spine, okay? So that's at the very top there. And in fact, If you want to, if you're not using that, you can hide them. It's totally up to you. Now, beneath that is the front cover. And you'll notice I've got a folder. So like anything that I put associated with the front cover, you can just drag and drop it into that folder, right? And here's the shape for that front cover, okay? And will you guys do me a favor? Will you mute your mics for now? I think you may need to do that. But anyway, but if you have a question, you can turn it back on and ask, right? So check this out. If I were to, let me see here, find that file here, right? If I wanted to put that on my front cover, I can grab it, drag it here, nope, wrong one, there it is. Well, for some reason, there we go. All right, so I placed it beneath that file, but I'm going to drag and drop it over that folder. See that? Now I can basically right-click the layer. It's always important that you have them in this order. The shape is on the layer beneath, and the artwork that you're trying to place inside that shape is on the layer above. So I can right-click this layer and choose Create Clipping Mask, and it places the art inside that shape. Makes sense? And so working this way, you can quite literally organize the artwork for your cover. You can put more art in there, more text, right? So we're essentially creating a package design and laying it out and creating the artwork all in one, okay? So that's essentially what you're going to do for the back cover, the spine, and this label here. You can even put like a larger title across the top if you'd like. There's a little bit of instruction down here at the bottom as well about clipping masks, but you can get rid of this layer with that text on it when you finalize the work. Anyway, so back to the example here. You can take a look at the cover for this one. Right, and it's more complex, right? Here's the water layer. I've actually got, you know, fireworks and smoke above that I'm blending. And here's one of my kids riding a toy, bull, which was an odd little photograph that I've always wanted to use. So here it is. It's you know, a complex group of images that make this up, including a little color adjustment there, a hue saturation adjustment. All of that is enclosed, including the text, is enclosed in this folder for the front cover. Okay. And this is actually really nice. You know, if I didn't have these in folders, it would be a really complex layer structure, really unorganized. These folders allow me to see individual elements and then roll them back up. Right? Here's the back cover. Again, fairly complex. Here's the barcode and the other elements, including the text, right? And yeah, this is not the most exciting layout, but you're going to do a lot better than this one, right? You're going to be more inventive. But I just wanted to show you that like we need to have a couple of columns of text. I want to see you using not only text that's kind of out here and free, right, but also text in paragraph form, right? Area type. So you can put like all the lyrics in one column, and then put like the information about the musicians in another column. And then down here, we can have the information about the publisher, even the publisher's mark, right? And a UPC code. By the way, a UPC code, if you just do a quick search, like a Google search for UPC generator, you can actually generate a UPC and download it very quickly, right? But I want you thinking about all the elements that you'd find on a record cover album and incorporate that, okay? And here, there's the label as well that I want you to design. Here's essentially, I've given you the texture for the vinyl. You can actually find instructions on how to create that texture. If you wanted to go out on the internet and look for how to create a vinyl record texture, you could do it yourself. I'm all for that. But like here's the shape for the label, and here's the bull artwork placed inside it that I've actually kind of colorized blue using hue saturation. Right. And here's the text that's on a path, right? If you draw a circle and then get the type tool and click on the outer edge of that circle, you can actually type text and it'll follow it. Or not just a circle, I mean any shape, any path that you can draw with a pen tool or with the shape tools, you can turn into the baseline for text. Anyway, so there you have it. There's an example of how this thing could be laid out. So start looking for the artist that inspires you, that have the lyrics that you think that you could design for those lyrics, right? This song that I chose actually has a real calm section in it, and then a really energetic, almost cacophonous section in it. So my interpretation was more emotional than anything else. That front cover is meant to kind of represent that frenetic, active, driving sound that part of the song has, and then the back cover is meant to be the more serene part of the song that's softer and more melodic. Make sense? And I want you to be thinking this way about your own design. Not just the information in the lyrics, but the mood of the piece should inspire what you're doing as well, as a visual interpreter of that music. Capiche? All right. So there you have it. You guys have any questions? All right. So I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. This is one of my favorite projects. I love music, and hopefully you do too, and hopefully it inspires you as a visual artist to make something great. Anyway, there you have it. Project 3.